violin. And the violin is Peter's instrument. It's actually a string chord text. So, Todd, just want to talk a little bit about the violin for us?
So the violin is a string instrument, so it has strings on it, and as you know, if you pluck a string, it makes a noise. All sound is actually vibration. So if you have a string and you pluck it, you can hear it makes a twangy sound, like if you have a rubber band, you can twang a rubber band. But it doesn't make a lot of sound unless it has some amplification. And the box of the violin, basically, the body is just a hollow box, and that acts as an amplifier. So when you twang the string, it now makes a much louder sound than if you were just twanging it all by itself. And then how you vary the pitch with the stringed instrument is either by how tight it is. So if it's loose, so as you loosen it, it gets lower, and as you tighten it, it gets higher. The other way you can change the pitch, if you try to play a whole song like this, it would probably not work out very well. So the other way that you can change a pitch on strings is to shorten the strings. So right now, all the strings on here, there are 4 strings on a violin, and they're all the same length. But if you make the string shorter by putting your finger on it, so now it's shorter than. So you learn where to put your fingers down to make the strings the different lengths to make notes. Then there are a couple of different ways to make noises. One is the plucking, like guitars, you pluck the strings, that kind of thing. With the violin, most of the time you're using a bow. So another way to make the string vibrate is by rubbing it with a bow. And the bow is actually made out of horsehair, or a horse's tail. So all of this is from a horse, actually. And then a horse's tail is actually really slippery, or that string is really slippery, and it doesn't make the string vibrate very well. So then we use a dust called rosin to make it have a lot of friction. And the rosin comes out of a tree, the sap of a tree. They actually collect sap from a tree, and it hardens up, and then you rub it on the horse tail to make a bow, and then it makes that sound. So there are 4 different strings, and they're all different tensions. So the lowest is the loosest string, and then the top string is a very tight string. And one of the problems, or one of the challenges back before they had electricity, was that there was no way to amplify things unless you just got more of them. So trumpets are very loud instruments, and woodwind instruments are very loud instruments. So in an orchestra, typically there's only a few of those because they're very loud. But so that you can have violins be as loud as trumpets, typically you need like 10 or 15 different violins to make the same loudness as a trumpet. So oftentimes in orchestras you'll see that there are like 20 violins, and there are 10 violas and 10 cellos. So that's how you adjust that. And back in the day, the stringed instruments were really the rock musicians, the most popular. So being the stars of the orchestra, we were the stars. So we got the lead role in terms of in Peter and the Wolf, in terms of we play for Peter, who is then the star of the show, or the lead character in the show. And Peter has a theme in the show. Typically, every time the narrator talks about Peter, you will hear a theme, or this little song. And if I can play it, it goes something like this. Alright, the last one is a little sour. But that basically is Peter's theme. So when you hear them talking about Peter, you'll feel the dun 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 dun. Thank you very much.
So next up we have Jason.